So hello, Carla. It's great to see you. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Well, we're here at the very beginning of November 2020, and we're doing a series, as you know, of discussions with new CEOs in public media. So tell me a little bit about what is your current title? How long have you been at your station? What station are you at, to set the stage?
Absolutely. So I am now in a new position it's been 4 months already. And in COVID years, that's probably way more. I'm with WVIA and we are in Pittston, so Northeast Pennsylvania. I came from Kansas City and I was the chief operating officer there and was with that station for 7 years. So it's been an interesting transition, especially during this time, but we've really just tried to continue as business as usual with a very different approach. Challenging enough to take on that position during, normal times, but this where we're juggling what the right thing is to do as far as having people in the office and not in the office and working remotely and trying to engage with staff when you're just starting a new job. Not having that FaceTime initially was pretty tough, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's actually start there. So what would you say was a key challenge or something that you had to get creative around in engaging with this new team when you're starting as their, overall leader, and you're not seeing anybody in person?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting when I had started, they did have some people in the office. So what I did was, as part of the recruitment process, I did a 120-day plan, which at the time you don't think you're going to use, but actually I really did lean into that a lot, because as part of that, what I wanted to do was use my first month meeting everybody and getting to know everybody. So it is a small enough staff. There's 34 full-time staff members. So my goal was to try to get as much FaceTime as possible. So I started with those who were in the building. So a lot of the engineers were still there, the radio staff, and leadership team. The leadership team would come in on certain days as well. We started to slowly transition some people back and cap the number in the building. So we would cap the number at 20 and we were all very much spread out, and we still do that. We're rotating and we're keeping an eye on who's in the building when, and just being really flexible, because obviously there's a lot of parents as well trying to juggle home life with kids and trying to navigate learning at home and everything else. So we're really leaving it very open to, individuals. But I have managed to meet every single staff member in person now, which has been brilliant. And it took a lot longer than what I had hoped. I thought it was all going to get done in the first month, but over the for the first 3 months anyway, that was the big focus for me, and I finally did get there.
That's great. And I think that's a really important point that you bring up, whether you're in a virtual experience or not, is when you come to a new place, understanding what you're coming into and who's your team and what they care about. Was there anything in that process that you learned that surprised you, that you didn't know about the station, and it's maybe changing the way you're going to move forward as you develop, your plan past the first 120 days?
It was actually interesting whenever I had some staff members come into the office and say they hadn't been in the office before, as in the CEO's office. So that was surprising, because the culture I came from in KC was very much more of an open door policy, and the Cliff, the CEO there, was always very much engaging with the entire staff. So but that's, again, it's just individual. It's a different style, obviously. I tend to be a lot more open to communication and try to over communicate almost, and it actually did it brought up a lot of, I was thinking a lot about communication and culture from the outset. because of the change in leadership. And we actually are now working with someone we're training. We're doing some culture training, and we just started that last week. And what was interesting to me on that front was we did have staff members thinking, it's a chore rather than something that is going to be good for us long term and as a team. And it was actually really, really helpful. And we got so many people then, sent an email afterwards saying, I wasn't looking forward to it, but actually I'm really bought in now and I'm excited about it. And I think it's great that you're investing in the people in the company as far as wanting to ensure that we do communicate better and we're more mindful. So that's definitely been a good thing for us.
That's a great story. Tell me, so I think it's important in this series, as we're talking to the CEOs about their first year and what they're experiencing, you had to move, as you said, from Kansas City to Pennsylvania. So what has stood out for you personally about moving to a new community, trying to figure that out and managing kind of your work-life balance with that?
It's funny, the board members are always saying to me the honeymoon period will last a lot longer because I can't get to all of the meetings, or we don't want to encourage people to go out for meetings at the moment until such times that everyone feels more comfortable. So that has been difficult in that I haven't had the opportunity to go out and meet with donors and have those lunches and just try to engage more. And even community events, we actually did have like a series of events in very small theatres where we were trying to do a sneak preview for fall programming. And it was meet the president, but we couldn't really work with any more than maybe between 10 and 15 people. So was it really worth it? So we had to really rethink that. And we're going to hopefully just strategize and think about doing something like that more next year. Moving was interesting, but, it's just, we just had to, you just have to do what you can. And as I say, going into the office was helpful for me. I always question myself and thinking, am I doing the right thing by going in? And is it frowned upon? But as I say, the communication piece is what is key there, to make sure that every single leadership meeting that I have, I'm asking the team, how does everybody feel? How's their staff feeling right now? What can we do, to continue to ensure that everybody feels safe? So that's been a big piece of it for us as well.
Great.
So I started talking to the chief content officer about programming, and they were ready to get back into programming in some capacity. They had been on hiatus for a while, obviously, but we started to develop some sort of weekly show. It's now a multi-platform, long-running series called Keystone. Will be a long-running series called Keystone Edition, but again, multi-platform. But what I was really enthused by was the fact that they were so excited to get back into it. I think a lot of the time, Deanna, you have a lot of staff members who've been there 25, 30 years, and they sometimes, the assumption is that they will not want to be working as hard and they won't want to change and they won't want to do new things and try new things. And it was quite the opposite. And it was really refreshing to me to go in somewhere where they were really excited that I want to focus more on local content and think that that's the direction we want to, that we should head in. And they were really embracing that, and they have gone above and beyond and haven't heard a single complaint. I think simple pleasures, if you get them food before the show, and it's been really, really great to see how well that has been received, and to try to get into the local programming and output again. But they're still doing it. I mean, they're a very small crew trying to scale back. They're finding new ways, and obviously some guests are via Zoom. But that has been really refreshing, as I say.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I would imagine too that COVID has given so many people perspective, what the day-to-day of a job before might have seemed to some drudgery, but when you get away from it, you can never go out again. And now
completely,
start to engage. I think that it really, it gives you that perspective of, this is what I want to do, and I want to be refreshed. I want to be re-engaged. So it makes sense to me.
Totally.